Hello everyone, and welcome back to This Week in Mythic Plus. Now this week we have Raging, which means when a non-boss enemy drops below 30% HP, they will enrage, dealing in double damage. Volcanic, which means that periodically underneath the player's feet a volcano will form that will explode, leading to a ton of damage. And Tyrannical, which means that bosses have more HP and do more damage. Now tanks, if your pulls are greater than 4 mobs and are raging, you should begin to kite or stun that pull as soon as they become raging. Something else you should be doing is if your group is melee heavy, then you will be getting volcanoes underneath your feet as well, so make sure you dodge any volcanoes. And on big boss damaging abilities, you want to use defensive cooldowns. Since this week is Tyrannical, those big boss abilities that used to hit you for 60% of your HP will now one-shot you, so be very careful and use your cooldowns. If you don't think you need to kite or stun your raging pull, then make sure you always have active mitigation up when tanking a raging pull. And consider using a smaller cooldown, maybe an absorption trinket, in order to mitigate that raging damage. Now DPS. AoE and cleave all of the raging trash to try to take it down as soon as possible. The best practice you can do is when a mob is below 50% HP, that's when you should start using your DPS cooldowns so that the enrage period lasts less than the normal period. Make sure you are actively dodging volcanoes whether you are melee or range, although range will get them more often. And use your defensive cooldowns on a big AoE boss ability. If you have Pridas, equip it this week for boss battles, because those big AoE abilities like Dantalianax's Shadow Bolt Volley can one-shot you if you're not ready for the hit. Also, whenever a trash pull all becomes enraged below 30% HP, try to throw out some stuns and some snares in order to help your tank mitigate damage and kite. Healers, you should also be helping with stunning and snaring pulls for your tank whenever they're below 30%. So if you have any stun, snares, or knockbacks, use them when the mobs are raging. Whenever a pull does have more than 4 mobs and is completely raging, make sure to also start overhealing your tank because they're going to be taking twice as much damage. You should also be keeping an eye out on volcanoes because they can spawn on you, especially at range. And for big boss abilities that do AoE or cleave damage and hit multiple people, you should have your AoE heals ready to go. These big boss abilities will hit everyone a fair amount, so make sure you prepare your AoE heals and use them as soon as that ability lands. Also, so that you can survive those big boss abilities, make sure you use a defensive cooldown on yourself before that big boss ability goes out. Overall this week, make sure you stun and snare raging pulls, take them down as quickly as possible, and use defensive cooldowns on big boss abilities. This week is not going to be too difficult, it's going to be a 5 out of 10, and I do think the hardest part of this week is going to be those boss battles that have huge cleave potential. So as long as you know the fights and know when to use your defensive cooldowns, you should be okay. However, there are still going to be some pulls that are troublesome with raging, not being able to kite mini bosses or stun them. You might have 1 or 2 wipes this week, but overall this week is not too bad. Get out there, do at least your plus 10 this week. Because remember, all we need to do is a plus 10 until the new raid comes out. Thank you all for watching, and as always, good luck out there.